I like what this article says. Behavior is what we do, personality is how we think, feel, and why we tend to behave in a certain way. I'll give you the main point now, but if you stay throughout the video, I'll give you so much more. And the main point is this: the mean teacher should not be used to attack personalities. It should rather use procedures to mend behaviors. Let's take it from the top. I've already done some videos on classroom control, how to get kids to conform with activities in the classroom. There's one particular one that I want to discuss in this video today. I want you to guess, but I already mentioned it in the intro, so I'm gonna give it to you. I feel this is the most used because I've seen it many times and I've done it many times too. It seems so convenient, although it can be emotionally exhausting, mostly because by the time we need to do this, we are already at our wit's end. There's, however, a big problem with how it is used, and after thinking about it for a while, I finally figured out what the problem is with this particular class control method. This control method is what I call the mean teacher. Now, these are the three things I'm going to discuss going forward in this video. Number one, what is the mean teacher? Number two, what is the problem with how the mean teacher is used? And number three, how do we fix the mean teacher? And I'm going to use a book called The 1 Minute Manager. This is a book I read some years ago. First of all, what is the mean teacher? I call it the mean teacher basically because it involves the teacher being mean to solve the problem at hand. The problem at hand is basically a student acting inappropriately. A distinguishing thing about the mean teacher from other methods is the intensity of its implementation. It is confrontational. When a student exhibits a behavior we are not pleased with, the mean teacher does something which is usually unpleasant to the student. This could be making a child stand up or shouting at them in anger or affecting some other form of punishment. Well, at least that's what we usually do. And there's a little bit of a problem with this, which brings me to the next point. The problem with how the mean teacher is used, which is anger as a way of control. This is the problem with the mean teacher. Manipulation is when we control other people's behavior with our emotions. We want the student to do something because it's the right thing to do, not because of how we feel as a teacher. The mean teacher has become sort of a channel for dissipating our anger and impatience because insubordination makes us angry. And we also expect students to fall in line quickly with class control. So we have resorted to using this as a means of tranquilizing our anger and anesthetizing our impatience. Remember, behavior stems from personality, and hence per our personality, our behavior is always justified to ourselves. Whether it's the kid who won the best prize for most quiet child, or the kid who stole the cookie from the cookie jar, or even the teacher who is dissipating his anger because of the student's actions. Anger only deals with the leaves. If you want to pull the roots, you have to implement the right measures, and this takes time to do. Implementation of the mean teacher should make sense. Before we get to the next point and see how we can glean concepts to improve class control from the 1 Minute Manager, I want to think out with your mind over a simple yet profound question. I want to open a new ventricle of thought and let you dig deep into the reserves of the capacity of your mind. For advancement is often predicated on how deep we can think, for the great thinkers of our times have often laid numerous of such foundations for us. So the question is this: whether you teach at a higher level or a lower level, there aren't a vast variety of behaviors that aren't expected from students. What then angers you when a student acts as such? I can understand the anger though, because we can be angry over an exhibited behavior, but it doesn't sound right to me when the teacher lashes out because of a student's phlegmatic personality. Now let's get to fixing the mean teacher with the 1 Minute Manager. I've seen the mean teacher used a lot lately, and that got me thinking, and while I was pondering, I remembered a book I read a few years ago. It's called The 1 Minute Manager. The 1 Minute Manager is an interesting book on managing people and getting things done. The main idea in this book is a 3-step approach to managing people. So, to get our people to accomplish tasks, number 1, we have to set a 1-minute goal that is clear and precise, hence the 1 minute. Number 2, we have to praise them when they do well. And number 3, we have to address them when they make a mistake. Now, the classroom is similar as we have to get our students to conform to what is happening in the classroom. So we are going to apply these 3 rules to the classroom. The first step is setting goals. Set the expectations you want your students to fulfill. Make sure you've discussed it thoroughly to understand them with them. This is really the good and starting point of classroom management. Let the students know what is expected and what isn't permitted. After doing this, you have to go an extra layer to make its implementation easier for you and easier for the student to follow. And that's something that falls on you, the teacher. Don't expect that they'll do it just because you said it. They don't walk around with a set of rules on their minds. Of course, they will forget. So we always have to reaffirm it. We have to use many methodologies to do this. Pictures in the classroom, TPRs, hand signals, poses, etc. When we are teaching one person, we can be less organized. However, when it's a group of kids, we have to be as structured as possible. So the first step in the use of the mean teacher is to make sure you have a strict set of permitted and unpermitted behaviors. And the way we do this is to write rules that fix problematic personality traits. For example, an entitlement mentality is a personality trait. It's not just a behavior. So instead of just saying no fighting, we can set a rule that says respect others and use your own toys you've earned from the teacher to prevent one child from boxing another for their toys. The second is to praise when the right thing is done, and I'll keep this short. Everyone expects to be rewarded in some way when they do what is expected of them. Whether it is words of affirmation, a pat on the shoulder, financial benefits, or whatever, we naturally expect something when we fulfill a requirement. That is why the whole gamification process is so powerful, and that's a topic for another day. You have to encourage good behavior and good thinking. That affirms good personalities. Every teacher needs to have a personal stash for this. Stickers, hugs, toys, candy, saying well done, and etc. This is a must. Truly appreciate those who follow the rules and exhibit the right behavior. In Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said, "Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise." And he also said, if some people are so hungry for a feeling of importance that they actually go insane to get it, imagine what miracle you and I can achieve by giving people honest appreciation. Now let's get to the last step. The last step is addressing mistakes or shortcomings. There are some who do this intentionally to get attention. There are those who do this out of ignorance. We have to know the difference as teachers and know how to address them individually. One of these is a deep-rooted personality, the other is not. Deal with ignorance more mildly by going over the rules. If the child is offended intentionally, you have to find out what personality traits are causing this problem. And you'll be surprised what you find. I have a child in my classroom who gets no attention from his parents per my research. Because they are busy all the time. It's just his grandmother taking care of him, and he will do anything he can to get attention in class. He knows when he's doing the wrong thing, but he's happy when he gets to be more friendly with the teacher and other kids because of this. Usually we have to talk to parents, talk to other teachers about the child, and we have to let the child be the main focus in the resolution process. Definitely not our ego. Remember, behavior stems from personality, and we can be angry and attack a behavior, but to change behavior, we have to speak to personality. That's why I love this quote that says, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." And hence, I find that the sanctions that work best are not just the ones that the teacher decides and enforces by himself, but the ones that are agreed upon by both the teacher and the student. So basically, the child has to come to understand the implications of their actions by themselves. And that is why sometimes implementing certain rules take time. It's really no different from building the values of a good company. And so, while writing the set of rules for a classroom, remember these: what the mean teacher should do and what the mean teacher should not do. This is what the mean teacher shouldn't do. The mean teacher should certainly never attack personalities, only behaviors, and for effectiveness, the mean teacher should never be used on a group. It should call out individuals. Here's the one thing the mean teacher should do and do really well. It should solve behavior issues with appropriate procedures that speak to personalities. Its implementation should actually be direct and fast. directed towards individuals. The mean teacher defines what has to be done, praises when it's done, and sanctions when it's not done. We'll discuss sanctions in another video because they come in different forms, and we should know that in terms of sanctions, sometimes what is good for the goose is not good for the gander. Before the summary, let me give you one powerful tip. We should not use punishment as a means of soliciting the right behavior. So don't tell the child to do the right thing in your anger. Punish first. Explain why you're punishing, and then after, go back to step 1 and go over the rules. We should use punishment just to point out and discourage bad behavior, not to encourage good behavior, because that doesn't really register well in the habit loop. Whenever the child is seeing the angry teacher telling them to do the right thing, that's kind of confusing. So, in summary, the mean teacher is 1. The teacher who sets the right rules to mold the personality of students. 2. The teacher who encourages good behavior with different forms of rewards. And 3. Lastly, the teacher who addresses unwanted behavior with agreed upon punishments. Also, let's remember that good and long-lasting classroom management takes time to implement, because knowing what to do and doing it aren't necessarily the same thing. Sometimes it takes time to do what we know to do. I hope this video was either insightful or entertaining. If it was, click the like button. If it wasn't, click the like button twice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Love and peace.